So maybe one last second to get settled. And just a note, I know it was supposed to be a different talk about source code reviews from Yusuf, but he texted us today that he couldn't make it, so we had to find a replacement. And yeah, I replaced this talk with myself. So, yeah, I don't know if you saw the introduction talk yesterday. My name is Vladyslav. I'm the curator of the security track this year. And yeah, so from time to time, I have some materials to share. And I decided, OK, you expected something security, and I can also do that. So that's why I am talking today and not Yusuf. Also in English, not in German. We can also do something in German, but I can either talk about my dog, the weather, or cars. But yeah, I don't think code.talks is about that. And another thing, so I have two topics. So the one that is here, I thought, OK, what can I show that is really relevant to developers? And I recently worked on a topic, how to prevent committing bad stuff into Git at work. So I thought, OK, I will just share something about that. There are no slides. So what I would just do, just open my browser and my text editor, just show you what we did. But then I thought, OK, maybe depending on the crowd, I can also do something else. And recently I gave a talk at About You, where I work, about forensics and how we kind of improved our capabilities to do digital forensics in the company. So one is more practical, kind of relevant. Another one is a bit more funny. We can actually choose. So yeah, can you maybe raise your hand if you're a developer and you're more interested in improving the way you commit to Git, like not committing crap? OK, I see it's the most. So let's just do that. There will be no slides. It's just I will share my screen. Can you switch to the screen sharing? It's not switched yet. OK, perfect. It's definitely not the tab that I wanted to share. But OK, so what we're going to talk about is this. Basically, have you ever had the situation, let's say, you probably develop code, you make a commit, then you push your branch, and the CI pipeline could just fail it because you forgot something. Let's say you forgot to run your linter. For me, it happens a lot. Like, let's say we develop a lot with Python in the security team at About You. And we agreed that we will use like a formatter called black on all our Python scripts. And we also agreed in the team that it has to pass flake 8. So you run flake 8, and it has to give 0 errors. So if I don't run it before I make a commit, the pipeline will fail. And that's frustrating. So has it ever happened to you that you had something like that? Yes. Oh, cool. Then you will like it, what I will show you. And Git has this cool mechanism. So they thought of that, basically, to kind of validate what you're committing and run some custom stuff, even before you push it to the remote branch. And not running your linter, it's just the tip of the iceberg. You can do other things there. For example, you can commit some credentials by mistake. I did that too. And then it becomes even more frustrating because, first of all, I want to remove it from the Git history to hide that I messed up. And that my team doesn't shame me because I'm the lead security engineer and I just hard code credentials and push them to a repository. And secondly, I have to kind of immediately consider those credentials exposed and rotate them. Depending on credentials, it can become a really big pain Yeah, we had a case at work where something important got exposed, so we saw no abuse of that, but we still had to rotate, and it was difficult. And if you have ever had to do that, you can understand my pain. It's all of a sudden, you know, you have to rotate so many credentials, and let's say one application is dependent on this credential that you have, let's say, in the database. So, and there is not really a good way the application loads that credential into itself. So you also have to redeploy. So you change the, let's say, the database password, and then you have to redeploy your application, which takes time, which means also some downtime, and your company is losing money. So yeah, this is where this principle of shift left is great. Yeah, to detect problems on your laptop. I see Santiago who gave a talk yesterday about shift left cheering, and that's good because it's a really popular thing to do now. You know, we say in security, shift security left, because just from all the things that I just mentioned, how hard it is to rotate those credentials. What if we detected those on the machine of the developer? What if developer noticed that before pushing it somewhere, and then we don't have to even consider anything exposed? So that's kind of what we can do with this function of Git, Git hooks. So there are several hooks, and I will focus on just the pre-commit hook. It's just something that executes before you make a commit. It's as easy as that. And the most simple example of it, we can just see. I will show you. We can write a... Wait a second, I need to clear. OK. I don't know if you see it well. I also don't see it. But anyways, how do I do this? Let me switch to like screen. What? Yeah, I get it, but I don't see in the back, so it's it's like a different screen. So I will switch to mirroring. Can you switch that, or do I have to switch to mirroring? Oh my god. Okay. No, it's good. All right. Okay. Yeah, and sorry for all these rough parts. So I don't know if we will manage to go until the end, but I really thought that it's better to, you know, show something instead of just telling you that the talk is not happening. So this is one of the repositories, but I think it's already installed there. I don't know. Let's set it up from scratch. Why not? Can you see? By the way, should I make it even bigger? Can you read? It's okay. Yeah, it's okay. Good. So, so I will just do git init, and yeah, right now I don't have much in the repository, just the .git folder. And if I look into it, there is a folder called hooks, and you can see that there is already something in there. I don't remember. That's definitely not default. Ah, yeah, okay. So this is because I already have something installed in pre-commit, but let's just change it. I will just remove all this, and let's try to echo hello world. So this is just kind of to show that you can execute and run pretty much anything with these pre-commit hooks. So I will go back, and let's say I will make a test file. I don't know, test.py. Make print one. Then I'll add everything and then do my git commit. Oh. That didn't matter, but you see over here, we have our hello world message. So this is the thing that you can utilize. Do you still? Okay, it's fine. And this is the tool that you can utilize to actually run something before you commit. And I can, for example, do something else. Let's try that. So my commit was actually successful. If you look at git log. Okay, it had empty commit message, so it didn't commit. Let's say we do that. So right now we have something in git log. So this commit was successful because the pre-commit script that we saw also succeeded. And what happens if you exit -1? Is this correct? I'm kind of shit at bash, but let's try. Okay, so it works. So let's try to commit again. Let's say I will change my file to whatever. It's not the point what the file is really. And I will add it again and git commit. And the thing is, you see, I committed, but this commit is not in my log. Why? Because the script did not succeed. So what it means is that you can develop a script that, depending on certain criteria, can either allow you to commit or not. But I think it's pretty clear from everything else that I said in the past. But the thing is, this works perfectly if you just want to run one thing. If you want to run one thing, this is what I would recommend. You could also make this thing global. So with certain Git configuration options, you can run this script on any commit that you do, which is pretty cool. It becomes more complicated when you want to run multiple things, or let's say different things depending on a project. And then it becomes even more complicated when you also want your teammates to run things on their commits. And it becomes even more complicated when you're trying to do security in a company and you explain to developers that they shouldn't do something, that shouldn't commit something bad, and they should run something before their commits. And yeah, they don't want to do that. But that's another topic. And this is why pre-commit was created. This is a tool or a framework to manage your pre-commit hooks in a really nice way. And it's pretty easy the way it works. Basically, you need to define two things. First of all, is your hooks. Sometimes you don't even have to define custom ones. Let's go back to my repository. And let's say I wanted to run, oh, wait, no. Let's say I wanted to run Flake every time I commit. Well, actually Flake works well here, but let's mess up the script so that Flake doesn't pass anymore. What shall we do? Let's say we will import requests and never use it. This is like a little Python specific, but it doesn't matter. And then Flake should fail. Yeah, see? So this basically, like in Python, you can import a module and never use it. And this is not a nice thing. It's no big deal, but it's just uncool. So what you want to do is, understand these things. So detect your errors. Oh, but you don't see anything. Why aren't you telling me that it's like just half the screen? Okay, so yeah, you see Flake is complaining here that requests was important but unused and too many blank lines. So in this way, for example, in our team, we decided that we will have all our Python scripts look the same way. Because in this case, we will never have to argue again, oh, you're using tabs instead of spaces, or can you use double quote here instead of single quote, all these kinds of things. So this just makes it easy, especially when your team starts growing and it becomes more complicated. Yeah, so what I want to do now is to run Flake automatically when I make a commit. So let's do that. I have to copy a piece of something. So basically, pre-commit works in a pretty easy way. You define something that is called hooks, and you define the pre-commit config. So this is the file that I have open, pre-commit config.yaml. This is where you define what needs to run. And then pre-commit hooks is when you want to define kind of how something runs, or like the version of it. So to make things simple, we will first look at Flake. And Flake already has a pre-commit hook defined. So if I just go to the GitHub repository of Flake, what I see here is a file called pre-commit-hooks.yaml. So I can reference it in my pre-commit config, and it will run Flake. Wait, let me make it bigger. And yeah, it will run Flake. And has anyone ever seen this kind of file somewhere in a public repository? Okay, a few, but now you will start noticing them, because I saw many Python projects in my life. I never noticed it, and then I read about it, like, oh, look at that. And also you can see that the developers of Flake, they have their own config, and they run certain things before they make commits. So this is also where you can see what kind of stuff or what kind of standards other projects have. It also doesn't need to be just Python and Bash. They support a lot of different stuff. So let's just scroll on their website and see what they support. I cannot find it now, but oh wait, supported hooks. So they already have a lot of hooks coming out of the box. Like, for example, remove trailing slashes, end the file with an empty line, this kind of stuff. Or check your YAML file for formatting, yeah? Because it's really annoying when you make a small syntax error. And yeah, you can check it later. It's called precommit, and it's precommit.com. And I'm just trying to find what else. Ah, here, supported languages, perfect. So can you see the language you develop in on the screen right now? Please raise your hand. Okay, a lot. But anyways, I mean, it's open source, so whoever said no can just make a pull request, you know. But yeah, it's pretty cool. So you can just, you know, go to work on Monday and start applying it. So yeah, back to the topic of running Flake. Basically, all I need is to copy like this part. So I will not go into the syntax. You can figure it out on your own, I'm pretty sure. And basically what I do is just create precommit config.yaml. And I paste this, and I hope it doesn't fail. Maybe I have to fix it here. Is it correct? Nope. And I can also go a little bit over the syntax. So this is the repository. So it's just like the link on GitHub that you find. Then you have the revision. It's a tag that you can use. And then one repository can have multiple hooks. So if we have time, I will also show you later that we also defined our own repository with the hooks that any developer that works at About You can just reference. And you can also run your custom stuff, like whatever you want, and also things that are not open source and private. It also works, and works pretty well. So let's say I created this. And all I need to do is to run pre-commit install. And I have to force it because we already have something in the pre-commit. Okay. Let me just remove it. Okay, let's try again. Okay, but what I see is that it's installed. It's complaining about something, but I don't get it. And we can see if it's if it was successful. Just as a so pre-commit script that you install into your repository it always looks the same. Yeah. So that's basically what it does. Or almost always looks the same. I also have to admit that I looked at this topic and I'm not that deep into it, but I still think it's very beneficial, and not that many people do it. So yeah, what we do now, we try to make another commit. And how do you like the code? Pretty good. So yeah, I will make another commit. Okay. Let's say we do this. Okay, it's failing. Why is it doing that? Okay. Yeah, I'll just remove that. Okay, perfect. See? So what happened here? Flake failed. And it just tells me, hey, it failed. And it can also do other stuff too. So for example, Flake only, so this script, like this tool, Flake 8, it only tells you if your script is up to a certain standard. It actually doesn't reformat anything. Yeah, so let's say I wanted to run something that reformats my code. Something like black. Black is just a code reformatting thing in Python that you can just run black on your code that Flake is failing on, and it will reformat it to like stop failing. That's pretty much it. And lucky enough, black also has a pre-commit hook defined. So all I need to do is just to copy paste the hook into my YAML. Let's just do that. Okay. And here I don't even need to reinstall anything. Now I just try to make a commit again. Oh, yeah, so yeah, I have to add my pre-commit configuration again. So, and yeah, the thing is, so it ran black and it reformatted my file. So if you remember how it looked like, let's check it out again. So see, there were like a lot of blank lines and everything in here. So what black doesn't do, it doesn't remove unused imports. You can use something else for that, but black just doesn't do that, not to mess up with your stuff. But we will just remove it by ourselves. And all I have to do is just re-add my stuff to the commit. And yeah, I do commit again, and everything is passing. And the commit is there, the number 4. And in this way, I can fix things in my code even before I push it to the remote, which is great. And this comes to my kind of final point, that you all should run security tools on it. And this is what we are introducing at About You. And the first thing we introduced is, I mean, it's a commercial tool that we're using. It's called Spectral. I'm not sponsored by them in any way, unfortunately. Otherwise, I'd be signing contracts with you. I'm kidding. But anyways, so we have this tool called Spectral that scans for hard-coded credentials. But the thing is, it scans when it's already in the repository. And for the reasons I explained before, it's really difficult to fix after that happens. So yeah, we decided to try a different thing, and we're just offering it. Okay, so here is how you run it, even before anything happens. So if you remember, I showed you how the pre-commit hook is defined in for Flake 8 or Black, and we have the same. We have a repository over here. I'll just make it larger so that you can see. And this is where we have the hooks defined. So for example, this is the one I'm talking about, Spectral. And this is how you define a hook. There is a little bit more into it, and we have just like 3 minutes left, so I will be really quick. So you give it an ID, you give it a name, you give it a description. This is like totally custom to how you want to run it. If you want to run a system executable, you have to put the language equals to system. And the entry is actually what command should be executed. And this is an argument. You can figure it out on your own, I'm pretty sure. It will just not pass the file names that are being committed into the arguments of your executable. So basically, that's all it does. Yeah, this is how we structured it. So this repository requires the tools or the binaries to be installed on the system already. So what we did, we just wrote a bash script that checks, for example, over here, right? Checking if the Terragrant is installed, because we work with Terragrant as well. And it just says, okay, if you don't have it installed, like, please go to the website and read the installation instructions. So just not to overcomplicate the script and not to make it install Terragrant. But you can also install something if it's not there. So basically in the README of this repository, we just say, just run this script before you want to use any of these hooks, and you'll be fine. And this is basically what happens with Spectral as well. We check if it's there. If it's not, we echo a command how to install it, because it's just like one line. And then people can just use it. And this is just the first step into our kind of shift-left toolbox. And yeah, I'm kind of excited to see actually how many of our around 300 developers will start using it. And I'm also considering to put other things in here. So for example, as I said, Spectral is commercial, but there are other things that can, there are open source things or tools that can check for hard-coded credentials. Like Trufflehog, there are some Git leaks, I don't remember, but we used to use those in the past and they worked pretty well. You can run other things. Let's say if you are working with infrastructure as a code, like Terraform, you can run Chekhov on it. You can just find, you know, open source tool X that you can use for security or anything else, and just run it in your pre-commit to make your life easier. No frustrating commits in the remote repository, and also more secure, because you can also run things like static code analysis, even dynamic application testing, if your script runs tests by default. Not by default, but it just if your pre-commit script will run tests, it will be able to handle that. So yeah, that's actually pretty much it. Thank you for your time. Yeah, let's have some questions. If you don't have any, then you can also go and end the day. Thank you.